Hello everyone, this is Pastor Ken from Larbert Baptist Church. It's time for another of our thoughts for the day. This is Friday the 18th of November, and thank you for allowing me to chat to you for a few minutes and bring this thought before you. I'm sure we all know that the world is full of people who have need of some help. The world's full of people with problems and difficulties and circumstances that they're not happy with. And these can be serious. There can be people with problems of addiction, either to drugs, some other substance, alcohol, etc., etc. Or they can have problems where they need intense counselling. There are other people who, I'm not minimising their difficulties in any way at all, but there are other people with less serious problems. Problems of loneliness, difficulties in their circumstances that they're wrestling with at any given time. Now, the experts tell us, and I believe quite rightly, that for people like that in difficulties, whether serious or not so serious, it's good to have a support group. That's perhaps evident in groups like Alcoholics Anonymous, where people meet together to discuss where they're at and what they're struggling with and how they're getting through things, how they're getting on. So they meet as a group, and that group that meets is a support group. Now, the way society is going, it's quite a shame because it used to be overwhelmingly that the family was the support group for those in trouble. And of course that is still, the family still plays a major part in many people. But increasingly the society in which we live sees the fragmentation of the family. And families, well, they're not what they used to be in a lot of cases. So where do people go to for this support group? Well, I am a firm believer that the local church is a ready-made support group for people who are in trouble. The local church, if it's a healthy church, it should find that the members and friends in that church rally round and help those who are in need or those who have problems. And they can rally round in lots of practical ways, visit, provide meals, spend time with folk, and of course they can rally round them in other ways as well, spiritual ways, in prayer and supporting them in that way as well. So in many ways the church is the envy of an awful lot of organisations who have to strive to put support groups in place. As I've said, in a healthy church, the support group should be there already. And people should just be, once they're aware of somebody in difficulty or somebody with a problem, we try to help as best we can. Now, obviously, there arises at times things out with our scope, things that aren't always able to be solved by those in the church. And of course there's always a time, there's always a place for expert help, and we have to source that from outside. But still, even going out to source that extra help, the church should still be there as a support group for anyone who is going through whatever it is that's in their life at any given time. Of course, the minister or the pastor sets an example, or should set an example. The pastor can take the lead in this and organise this, and of course the role of the minister or the pastor is a very important one. There are times when a visit from the minister is the way forward. But friends, can I just impress upon you that pastoral care is not the sole responsibility of the pastor or the minister. Pastoral care is the responsibility of the whole church. and not just one person. And indeed, the whole church or groups within that church can be a lot more efficient and a lot more effective than just one person. Now, I was reminded of that because in the Bible, I think we've all heard of King David. King David had a very circuitous route to the throne. He was anointed as king by Samuel, but he had to wait a fair while for Saul to exit the scene before he ascended to the throne. And he had his own trials and troubles and difficulties. He was persecuted, he was chased all over the land. Saul was out to kill him, and he had his ups and downs. And it's interesting to remember that he too had his own support group. Now, you can read about this in 1 Chronicles 11, 1 Chronicles 12, etc., etc. But there, we are told that there were a group of men who gathered around him. They're referred to as David's mighty men. Now, these were men who were loyal to David. They were very wise, they were very brave, and they were his support group through thick and thin, and stayed with him until he ascended to the throne, and indeed thereafter as well. Now, these mighty men were a tremendous support to David, and the Lord provided them. As I said, they came from all arts and parts. They gravitated towards David. They sought him out, and they helped him. So that's the model, if you like, that we read in the Bible for folk who are in trouble. Now, we're not all King Davids, and we don't all have problems of the magnitude that King David had. But it's good to know that the principles in place. Where would David have been if he hadn't had that group of mighty men around him? A small group compared to what Saul had in his army, but a group nevertheless that grew in strength and influence. And again, we ask the question, where would David have been without his mighty men? This was the means that God used for David to get to be king and to remain, to become the greatest king that Israel has ever had. So I hope you can see the parallels. The principles are the same, whether it's King David or whether it's ourselves. It's good to have people around us as a support. People we can go to, people we can trust, people we can rely on. And in a healthy church, that makes for a good structure for everybody concerned. It's good to be helped, and of course it's good to be able to help as well. So the whole congregation, the whole group of members and friends, we should all gather in this way, and we should have such a relationship that we can rely on each other, especially when the going gets difficult. It can work in the opposite way as well, of course. When there's a project or when there's a vision, the people gather around again to support that focus or that vision or that way forward. So it's just simple common sense. It's a wonderful thing that the Lord uses to drive things forward and to improve any given situation. So, if you are in need in any way, shape or form, I like to think that in the church that you find yourself, you can always go to someone and they can provide the support and the care that you need. Likewise, you should be looking around in your church, keeping your eyes open, being alert to those people who might be suffering in silence, mightn't want to say anything, but they would appreciate somebody coming alongside them, or a few people coming alongside them to help them over whatever it is that's causing concern for them in their life. So that's the ideal. God has made us as relational beings. We're not meant to be on our own. It's not good for any of us to be on our own. We need Christian companionship. We need Christian fellowship. And there are going to be times in all our lives when we need Christian help as well. So if you're on either side of the fence, if you're one who needs help, I trust there are those in your church around you that you can reach out to. And likewise, if you are one who can give help, I hope you're praying for those opportunities, being alert to those that you may have to get alongside, who may not be saying too much, but who are inwardly just crying out for some sort of a way out of their situation. And it's wonderful when the Lord sends somebody alongside you to share a problem, to discuss things, or to find a way forward. So I leave that thought with you. You can have a look by all means at David's mighty men in 1 Chronicles 11:12 and elsewhere. And you may not look upon yourself as a mighty man or a mighty person, but you could be used in exactly the same way where people around you are concerned. Okay, thank you again for allowing me to chat to you. It's a tremendous privilege. Thank you very much indeed. Please keep safe, keep praying, keep your eyes open, seeing how you can be helped or be a help to others. And may the Lord bless you in the meantime. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.